All right, ladies and gentlemen, now after I've seen what I've done originally on the heavy bag and I've counted the punches, now it's time to see if I can capitalize on where I need the work. Now I'm going to be shadow boxing against the video. So I'm basically sparring against myself to see where I need the work, and we'll train to do better from there. So let's get this thing done. Let's see now. There we go. We're live now. We're live now. I'll be watching the video while I'm dancing. That's right. Here we go. Okay. All right, here we go. In just one moment now, we're going to be exploiting what is going on here. What the hell? Okay, let's find out what that was. It might be this old cheap ass blood. And then these all won't want blood. That's all. Let's see what's in here. Let's see what's in here. Yep. Uh-oh. Yeah. Well, we know these gloves are tearing up on me. So, again, I'm not going to be hitting anything physical, so I might as well just tape up just like that. Okay. All right. Let's get this thing done. We'll get this thing won. That's right. We're going to do 6. Now, of course, I'm going to have an advantage now because I've had the opportunity to rest and watch what I've done. So it may or may not be too fair. So we'll see. I don't see no road. Probably gonna be wise for a little bit. This is the audio from me taping the first time. So let's pick up the 11-minute introductions from Alpha Kennedy. This is the contest for the world's final determination of the heavyweight championship of the world. We have to make particular measure for the new life. Anything with a countdown, you must make an 8 count. The other man must be tired for the neutral corner. 3 counts out, the 1 round, the 1 round, and the 8 count. Wait for 1 second. Round one. All right there I found that I am open to the uppercut, so I've got to be very on guard about that. If I can land on myself, more skilled fighters are going to be able to just dog me all night, so I got to watch out for that. Tip number one, keep those guards a little bit closer. Take that chin a little bit more, protect it from the uppercut. I'm a little open to it, and to the body, the chin and the body, you got to protect it a little bit more. Keep that chin, those elbows in a little bit more. So here we go, round two. Body shot. Okay, round two, still with the body shot. Somebody with a lot more skill have over me. Got to train to get rid of those shortcomings. Do all that instead of just walking straight back. I'm gonna get tagged. I'm gonna be good. Round three, coming up. Let's see what we can do here. Round three. Wow, got right. Woo! I gotta bob and weave more. It's good practice. Good practice. It's all part of training. All part of it. Since I don't have a live sparring partner or a live trainer, even I can spot where I'm doing wrong. I show this to an experienced trainer, he may laugh me out of the gym. Round four. Let's do it. Muhammad Ali in his corner. He gets up before the bell. Round four.
catch some body shots, right? All right. Sir. Woo! B first. At 2:45 at the end of the round. 2:45 at the end of the round. Now look at Ali hit those blows. But look at Frazier keep coming. Now this is 35 seconds into the round. Now we're getting ready for round 5. Round 5. All right, brother, round 5. he sure is some kind of a very strong, strong man. I think he's trying to psych him out, Jim. Well, it sure looks that way. I mean,
Round 6.
this is a Joe Frazier who's apparently kept a lot of anger.
Got bob and weave a lot more, like I'm doing shadow boxing against myself. Okay. Yes, sir. All right. All right. There we go. That's good right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I guess we, yeah.
So I'm gonna turn this off. It's a lot busy, a lot more busy in those 6 rounds. Against myself, because I can see the openings. I can see that I'm open to the body uppercuts or my danger. Danger! Gotta be careful of them. Gotta be careful of them. Uppercut to the body. If I get Bob and Weaver in there, he's gonna go for my body because it's open. My chin's up like this. My elbows are out like this. Gotta like that right there. See? I gotta be quick. Because again, I am 47, so I'm not going to be as quick as maybe somebody in their 20s to mid-30s. If I was in there against myself in my 30s, well then, I'd be just messed up. Now, what we can do is go back in time. You hear a lot of people say, what about Ali versus Marciano? What about that? What about young Ali versus, what about the older Muhammad Ali against the younger Cassius Clay? We all know how that turned out. If it's the Cassius Clay prior to 67, then the older Ali post 1972, it'd be a shame. Because he really picked up his game after the first Frazier fight. And then he had a good comeback that July against Jimmy Ellis. And then he had a couple of easy fights. Well, I say easy fights. There is no easy fight. As you know, if you're a boxer, you know there's no easy fight. There is a fight. There's just no easy or hard. It's a fight. And it's easy or hard as you make it on yourself. If you train good, then you know. But if you are lazy and slack off in training, then yeah, you know the outcome of that. But after 1971 and his fight of the century with Joe Frazier, which he lost with a 15-round decision, he went up against Jimmy Ellis in Houston, knocked him out. I believe after that he won against Buster Mathis, knocked him out. Let's see, who else did he go up against after that? I believe he had a rematch with Jerry Quarry after that. And then he went on to the broken jaw fight with Ken Norton the first time around in San Diego. And then, of course, Ali had to come back and put him out, let him know that he was the greatest of all times in the rematch in '73 when Ali beat Norton in the rematch in the Forum in Los Angeles. And then after that, he rematched Joe Frazier again, which was a title eliminator, which means whoever was going to win that 12 rounds was going to get a shot at then champion George Foreman. And then after that, of course, Ali went up against Foreman, beat him in Zaire. Here I go naming off. See, this is like people that know Star Trek by episode. Mr. Shatner, what about episode 564 where you in the red shirt went on the green planet? Man, I know too much about Ali fights, man. I might forget one or two, but ooh, boy, I'm almost as bad as a Trekkie on this stuff, buddy. I'm an Ali, I guess you have to call that one. But after he fought George Foreman, he went up against Chuck Webner, which inspired Sylvester Stallone to write Rocky. And then we all know what the Rocky series became. Successful and redundant at the same time. So, then after Chuck Webner, let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot his fight with Bob Foster. Let's see. There was a couple, like I said. From 71 until 74, there was a couple there that I had forgot about. Let's see. Between 71 and 74, July 71, I think was his last fight of that year. I might be wrong, against Jimmy Ellis in July. And then I think he went against Bob Foster. No. It was, after Frazier, it was Ellis, Patterson the second time, then Foster, then Quarry a second time, and then I think he went up against a couple of not unconsequential fighters after that. Got the shot at Foreman. After Foreman, he went up against Webner. Then after that, let's see what after Webner. I think he went up against Ron Lyle after Chuck Webner. And then Joe Frazier in Manila in 75. And after Joe Frazier, I think he went up against a couple of more unconsequential fighters. Let's see what else after that. Went up against a couple of guys overseas. Then came back to third time around with Norton at Yankee Stadium, which a lot of people say Norton won. If you want the title, you got to come get it every round. So God bless you, Mr. Norton, but you lost. The judges say you lost. Guess what? You may think that you won all day long and twice on Sunday, but I'm telling you, the judges see what you don't. If you would have poured it on Ali like you did in the first fight, but Ali was in as good a shape post-Thriller in Manila as he could be at that point. So anyway, a lot of people, including myself, of course, again, I can say this because I wasn't in Ali's shoes, but after Thriller in Manila, I'm not like most people say, oh, Muhammad Ali should have retired in 75 after the third fight with Frazier. I don't know about that. He probably should have took a good long rest, perhaps. But again, when you have as many people as he had on the payroll, you got to go out there and you got to produce. So I can understand why he had at least one or two more fights. Well, he didn't have any more in 75 because that was in October. So, but 76, 77 were very busy years for Ali. And just a lot of this. from 76 on to 78. A lot of this. Going up against guys like, I don't know, people like Jimmy Young and Pierre Koopman and Evangelista and, of course, Ernie Shavers. A lot of people say Ernie Shavers put the cherry on top of the sundae on Ali in 77. In 77, a lot of people say Ernie Shavers was the hardest hitting heavyweight since Sonny Liston, since Rocky Marciano. So only Ali will know, and of course Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes got dropped twice, I think, by Ernie Shavers. And that was in Larry Holmes' prime. So you know Ernie Shavers has got to have some power if you can knock down Larry Holmes, because Holmes has been tagged by some of the best. So let's see. After Ernie Shavers, of course, was the very tail end of Ali's career. And I don't know why I'm saying all this, but I got to get it out before I forget the thoughts. After Ernie Shavers, Ali was scheduled for a fourth fight with Ken Norton. A fourth fight, because again, Don King at that point was no longer promoting Ali. And of course, Don King had his own vested interests in the fighters, like maybe a Kenny Norton and a Larry Holmes, because I think Don King promoted both Holmes and Norton at that point. So Ken Norton went up against Jimmy Young, and many people say that was a controversial decision that Kenny Norton got. I'm one of them. I've seen the fight from Caesar's Palace. Norton was lucky to come away, and God bless you, Mr. Norton, but you were lucky to come away with a victory against Jimmy Young. Jimmy Young was a very unorthodox fighter, not meaning that he was a southpaw or anything, but he was just hard to catch. He made even Ali, which even though it was a post-75 Ali, he made Ali look like his timing was off and he was missing a lot. But again, that was both Jimmy Young and Ali's reflexes starting to go. But Don King went to Jose Suleiman, God rest his soul, who's now passed, at the time the lifelong president, which he still is the lifelong president of the World Boxing Council. So Don King went to Jose Suleiman and said, hey, I want Norton and Jimmy Young to fight an eliminator to go against Ali. And Ali was in a position where, hey, you know what, okay, I'll fight the winner. So he was contracted to fight either Norton or Young, which he had already fought Norton 3 times and already fought Jimmy Young the first time. So he figured he'd have an easy payday to tune up, to get another payday, of course, against Leon Spinks. Now, living right now in Missouri, I talk to a lot of natives that may like boxing, may have heard of boxing, but a lot of them, of course, again, which I think is a shame, has not heard of the St. Louis-born Michael and Leon Spinks. The first ever brother team to be heavyweight champion of the world. The second team, of course, it was the Klitschko brothers. But Michael and Leon won the heavyweight championship of the world. Michael held the IBF title, which he beat Larry Holmes for, and Leon, as briefly as it may have been, was the undisputed champion, which at that time was only the Ring Magazine, WBA, and WBC belts. So both of them were champ. And, well, both of them were recognized by the Ring Magazine also. Leon got a Ring Magazine belt, and he was the linear champion even after the WBC took the title from him, because Leon Spinks was supposed to fight Ken Norton. He was supposed to take over Ali's contractual obligations, but he positioned himself to rematch Ali in the Superdome, and the WBC and Don King, they were upset about that, so they took the title from Spinks, which from 78 up until 87, reverse those numbers, ironic enough, from 78 to 87, the WBA and the WBC belts were separate. And in between that time, the IBF was born. So anyways, Leon Spinks went on to rematch Ali. Ali came back and got as good as he possibly could be in 1978. And Ali was ready. And I think it was a combination of Ali just being ready and Spinks being just the opposite. Absolutely unready. Because Leon, if you remember that era in sports and in boxing, as much trouble as you heard Mike Tyson was in his youth, crashing into trees, doing whatever, Leon was just as bad, if not a little worse. So, but anyway, I mean, I can understand you're overwhelmed because you just beat Muhammad Ali, the first man in boxing, in a boxing ring to beat Muhammad Ali for the world title. And so that's got to play on your mind. You got to play on your mind. And then if you got all these influences out there, you got all these influences. Oh, Leon, come over here with us. You're the champ. You beat Ali. Come on over here. Or this person. Come on, Leon. I'll introduce you to this person. You know. That happens, I guess. I don't know. I've never been in that position. But you would have to assume, because he's human, just like me, just like you, that will happen. And then, of course, the overwhelming thought you had is, man, I did it once. I was at the pinnacle of my life, career, and expectations. Now, I've got to duplicate it. And on a big scale. Because when Spinks beat Ali, it was in the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas. And it was seen on CBS, probably by millions of people. But there was, I don't know how many people were in the Hilton Hotel at that point in time for that fight. But couldn't have been as many as in the Superdome when Ali came back to regain it. So in reality, a lot of people say Ali is a 3-time heavyweight champion. That's 4 times right there. And I'll tell you what my math is. Now, this is my math, and I'm going to get back to the training afterwards. My math of Ali being the first 4-time heavyweight champion of the world, which debunks Mr. Evander Holyfield's claim that he was the first. And again, Evander, I know you don't watch this, but if somebody sees it and they say, hey, Evander, this dude on here is claiming that you're not the first 4-time champion. Well, I've got the proof that he is not the first 4-time champion. And it's documented video proof of it. Now, let's go back in time now a little bit. February 64. Ali Liston won, or Clay Liston won. Ali wins knockout. 1 time. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. At that time, he wins the newly created World Boxing Council title. He wins the World Boxing Association title and the Ring Magazine title. And I'm sure the New York State Athletic Commission, which recognized their own champions, probably recognized him too. Which I could be mistaken, but I believe at that time he was recognized by the NYSA. Or whatever the initials are. But anyways, okay, then, because Muhammad Ali now rematches Sonny Liston at that time, traditionally, unless otherwise noted, the World Boxing Association was not too keen on scheduling rematches. Although, if you look back in time, and when they were the NBA, the National Boxing Association, they had guys fighting for middleweight titles 4 times, welterweight titles 4 times. So why they didn't want to rematch Ali and Liston, I don't know. But probably because of Muhammad Ali's religious views and because he was African American. At that time in our history, African Americans were treated very, very poorly. But so Ali stripped of the WBA title. He's done with that title. He's defending the title. Then a unification. A unification with now World Boxing Association champion Ernie Terrell. So Terrell's trying to get the WBC and the Ring Magazine and the New York State Athletic Commission title, and Muhammad Ali is trying to regain the WBA title. So he's trying to regain a belt, see, to reunify the title. Beats Ernie Terrell. Boom. He becomes the 2nd man in boxing history to become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Boom, right there and there. All right. 1967, because he evades the draft, because of religious implications, because he's a draft dodger, whatever your opinion is, it doesn't matter. This is boxing we're talking about, not political views or what you think personally of the man. I personally believe that everyone is entitled to their own opinion about anything on this earth. That's why we live in a free country like we do, even back then in those days. So Ali is stripped of WBA title, WBC title, and Ring Magazine title, and New York State Athletic Commission title. Boom, he's not champion anymore. So, we go further back, well, not further back in time, but a little bit more closer to the modern era. You go to 1974. Ali has no world titles. The belt has changed hands from several people. There was the WBA Elimination Tournament won by Jimmy Ellis. Joe Frazier wins the WBC and the New York State Athletic Commission titles. And boom, you have unification. Frazier's trying to gain the WBA title. Jimmy Ellis is trying to gain the WBC and New York State Athletic Commission title. Unification. Boom. Joe Frazier wins. He's the undisputed champion. But very questionable because he didn't beat Ali for it. Ali Frazier won 71. Frazier wins by 15-round decision. Ali goes on. 1974. Here we go. This is the 3rd time around for Muhammad Ali. 3rd time around. Okay? Now, this is the numbers. He beats George Foreman in Zaire. He is now 2-time New York State Athletic Commission champion, 2-time WBC heavyweight champion, and now 3-time WBA heavyweight champion. So he's already technically 3-time a heavyweight champion of the world. because the WBA belt was still very reputable at that point in time. Now, fast forward another 4 years after that. Him and Leon go for the undisputed title. Boom, Spinks beats him, 15-round decision, the first time Ali loses the title in the ring. Spinks gets stripped of the WBC title. So Ali has no opportunity against Spinks for that title, because that's now owned by Kenny Norton. Ali, Norton 2, the WBA heavyweight title, 15-round decision. Ali becomes 4 times WBA heavyweight champion of the world. So technically, in 1978, September 78 to be exact, September the 15th to be exact, he becomes 4-time heavyweight champion of the world. So then in 80, he becomes the first man to challenge for a 5th world's title. And of course, he loses to Larry Holmes for the WBC title, trying to regain it a 3rd time. But anyway, Ali, technically, well, he's going for a 5th world title, but technically the 3rd time for a WBC title if he were to have won, which I don't think there was any chance of him winning at that point. Basically, Ali is a very high-paid sparring partner at that point. So the roles are reversed at that point, because Larry Holmes was a high-paid sparring partner and Ali was the marquee man, and it switches. But Ali, the first man to win 4 times, the first man to challenge for 5, or 3 if you count the initials on it. So anyways, so Evander Holyfield is the 2nd man in boxing to be 4-time champion. Heavyweight, the legitimate champion. I know he won some offshoot belt, which makes him a 5-time title holder, but 4-time legitimate champion. So anyways, if you count that 3rd win, that 4th title win against John Ruiz legitimate, if you've ever seen it where Holyfield goes up against John Ruiz for the vacant WBA title, you will see that that was a very questionable thing. So I don't know what happened there. But the rematch where John Ruiz wins, he knocks down Evander Holyfield, and he pretty much seals the deal. But they did have a 3rd fight, I believe, where Holyfield became the 2nd man to challenge for a world title a 5th time. And of course, he loses. I think that was a draw, or maybe John Ruiz wins in a decision. And then of course, Holyfield does a couple more things in history. Holyfield comes back and has a 6th try at the title. A 6th try. And when they have stripped Lennox Lewis of the IBF title. So now they're stripping Lennox Lewis of titles left and right after Lennox Lewis beats Holyfield for the undisputed title. First, they stripped Lennox Lewis of the WBA title, and they put it up for grabs against Holyfield and Ruiz. They stripped Lennox Lewis of the IBF title. They put up against James Lights Out Tony, Big T, right there, brother. And they put it up against no, not James Tony. It was Chris Bird and Evander Holyfield. Chris Bird and Evander Holyfield. Chris Bird wins the fight. He's now champion of the world. So, and there you go. And of course, then that minor belt, I think it was an IBA or whatever it was, IBC, whatever that championship was, he wins that title in Las Vegas. So he has technically challenged for a heavyweight title 7 times at this point. That's more times than any man in boxing history right there. So anyways, there's my rant, rave, and whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I started ranting and raving. My medication I take is starting to kick in, so I'm going to be chit-chatty. So let me see if we'll see something outside real quick. No, family members are supposed to be coming in. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Twisted Steel Fight Factory is going to be going through, we're going to be changing things, so we're going to be rearranging, and so this is the background, the location, this here is all going to be different. It's all going to be different at the Fight Factory. And ladies and gentlemen, the next time you see us, we're going to be live, full training, live session. And there's going to be some prizes, there's going to be excitement, there's going to be happiness, there's going to be all kind of things. And we'll be on the speed bag, the heavy bag, the double end bag. We're going to be doing some all that business. And we'll be in a boxing ring like we are over there in Waynesville in the past. So we'll be doing it again right there. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the one. We will see you on the 24th of June, ladies and gentlemen. This is my official workout before my training camp starts, because again, As you all know, we got something fixing for Dixon. This man's in trouble. He should have never signed the contract. He might as well have cut his finger and signed it in blood, because that's exactly what he's done. He's in trouble. He knows it. He knows I'm the fastest heavyweight. My feet, my hands, my reflexes, my punch abilities, they're all still there. 47 years of age, and then when we fight in October, I'll be 3 weeks away from 48. 48 years of age, and I'll still be dancing. I'll still be shuffling. Look out now. I'll be doing a little this. That's what we're going to do to Foster, man. We're going to do that to Dixon. We got something fixing for Dixon. You'll